That's Rambo. Sure you guys have met him from some other videos. Pero yeah, so Cuban elections. This week, Cuba's electing its provincial governors and vice governors. These people are actually going to be elected by the delegates of the various municipal assemblies. Yeah, so no direct representation in Cuba. So this is all part of a theme that I see in Cuba. It's all based on the new constitution that was ratified last year, but part of this is the distribution of power in Cuban politics and Cuban society. So I want to touch on something that happened last year, or last month really, but it was the appointment of a new Cuban prime minister. And this was done by Díaz-Canel, and he appointed the former minister of tourism in Cuba. He had been the Cuban tourism minister for like 16 years. His name is Manuel Marrero Cruz, and he's going to be serving a 5-year term. But before this, there was no prime minister. The last prime minister that Cuba had was Fidel Castro himself. And the only reason that Castro stopped being prime minister was because when Cuba got its new constitution in 1976, he actually eliminated that position in a reverse theme that was the consolidation of power. So Fidel used to be the prime minister, but then he just became the president, head of state, and those two functions were like essentially combined. But now Díaz-Canel is the president, Manuel Marrero Cruz is the prime minister, so he's going to be handling like the operations. Díaz-Canel is going to be doing more high-level stuff. But again, this is the distribution of power, whereas before it was all this consolidation of power under Castro and the Castros, and now we're distributing it. And you know how, this is pretty weird, but like, you know how in the US, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, highest authority because it says so, in a weird way that actually makes sense. In Cuba, this document, their Constitution, which is not the highest authority in the land, still says with authority that the highest authority in the land is the PCC, the Cuban Communist Party. And the head of that party is Raúl Castro. So really in Cuba, all the power is consolidated there, but in the running of the government, I feel that they're now trying to redistribute that power because it's clear that the old guard is on the way out and they don't want that consolidated. Whereas before, the more power that the Castros could have, the better.